welcome to the Forging Roots podcast. I'm your host, Matt the Couture. And what are we doing with two podcasts in a week, you might ask? Well, like I said in the update podcast, a couple, I think like two episodes ago, um, I'm going to try to start releasing two podcasts a week. That's right, two. You're welcome. All joking aside, Mondays I'm going to try and shoot for uploading a podcast that has a guest on, which is kind of the learning part of Forging Roots because Forging Roots, the whole idea behind it is forging is to create something. So we're going to create, and then you have your roots are like when somebody says, "Oh, my roots are from here," meaning like that's where you're from, that's who you are because of whatever makes up who you are based on location or family history, blah blah blah. The idea of Forging Roots is that we can literally create those roots of what make up you based on your interests, your thoughts, and to kind of challenge them and not just let it be, oh, I'm part of this, whatever society says, I'm from here, I got to be this way. This is us sitting down on Fridays and actually going over how are we applying that, or how are we going to take those things that we learn on these podcasts, having these guests on, and how are we going to apply them. So it might be sometimes gear reviews, it might be which because of being bow hunter, getting in all these new things, how they're working for me, kind of giving you guys updates. I might also talk about too just things that are going on in the world, books that I'm reading, different ideas of like what does it mean to be a man, because being a man in today's society is something that's a little controversial for whatever reason because it's toxic for which shouldn't be. If you're actually being what a man is supposed to be, it's not toxic. So just those kind of ideas is what Friday's going to be set for. This being the first Forging Friday, I'm actually going to go ahead and go over and talk what you guys have probably already seen in the news from last week, but at the time of recording this, just happened yesterday, which was the shooting in Texas at the school. And first and foremost, my heart and is saddened by what happened. My prayers go out to the families and the victims. That's something nobody should ever have to go through. And that being said, I don't know how this keeps happening or why it keeps happening, because obviously this is something that in America specifically, because that's all I really know as our country, happens in more than it should. And rather than this keep happening and blaming the guns and that this is why it's happening, I think we should really take a step back and understand that's not the problem. The gun itself is not the problem. These shootings happen in gun-free zones to begin with, which I don't necessarily agree with. I think there should be something in place. Now, granted, I'm not claiming to be the smartest person in the world. I don't have all the answers. I have my opinion, and it might be changed depending on something that I hear or am challenged on. But I'm open to the idea of having. I think we should sit down and have the conversation, because this is a repeating offense because we're not taking any actions towards this, and it makes zero sense why. I think the problem is with that 18-year-old punk, honestly, that went in there and murdered all those children and adults, the two adults, has mental health issues, or had. I think that is something we need to dig into, is what is setting these people off. And it's not, oh, because he had the issues and he had a gun. It's not about getting the gun legally. He got it illegally. So if you start getting rid of the guns legally, it doesn't matter. People like that are still going to find a way to get them. I think we need to actually sit down and talk with our school boards, our local officials, our government officials at the state level, and then so on, and start pushing, okay, maybe, I know some people throw out, teachers should be armed. Might not be a bad idea if the teacher's willing. I do think there should be something set in place, not just give them a gun and that's it. We should have some type of psych evals and training, for sure training. It's not just the gun, because you need to know how to operate, and if you're willing to do that. Or maybe we put an officer in the school or something, because we need to at this point, it's just pushing the problem off and not addressing it for as much as it's happening. It's sad, it's pathetic, and it's something that should not be a worry for somebody sending their kid off to school that they might not come home that day. Like I said, I don't have all the answers, but I think this is something we really need to reflect on and seriously do push. And I know some people are going to say just get rid of all the guns, but there was no guns in that school to protect anyone, and look what happened. There was nothing to defend themselves with. That being said, I don't know how that applies correctly or what is the best step forward, but I think it's a conversation that we should be having and sharing with others. And like I said, talking to school boards, local officials, state officials, and so on and so forth. But yeah, so this was just, like I said, these are going to be short, little, brief Forging Fridays, thought-provoking, challenge myself, challenge you guys. I'd like you guys to share, comment, reach out to me on Instagram, have this conversation, talk if maybe you don't agree or maybe you have a better idea than what I do, which probably totally something that's possible. I'm not, like I said, I'm not the brightest in the world, but I'm willing to sit down and have the conversation, talk with people, and I think that's how we all should be. So, like I said, short episode this week. Hope you guys enjoy it, and looking forward to more Forging Fridays. And again, my prayers and out to those families and victims, and have a good rest of your day, and God bless.